So the ability of the microorganisms to survive and evade the environmental factors is because of formation of biofilm, which is the protective factor. In the biofilm, the bacteria will be in a slow or non-growing state because of depletion of metabolic substances and accumulation of waste products. From the biofilms, planktonic bacteria can detach at any time, activating host immune system, causing inflammation, edema, pain, and early implant loosening. So this is about the pathogenesis of infection. Now, diagnosis of infection is a complicated process. We haven't been able to find a easy pathway or algorithm to convincingly differentiate and diagnose a periprosthetic joint infection. We start with blood tests, which include WBC count, ESR, CRP, and procalcitonin. However, none of these tests have sufficient sensitivity and specificity to diagnose or exclude PJI, that is periprosthetic joint infection. WBC count and differential count have no value these days. Even ESR is of very less value these days. CRP has some value in suspecting or diagnosing infection. CRP remains elevated up to 2 to 8 weeks after an arthroplasty procedure. So serial measurements are of some value. If the CRP is increasing or declining, it gives us a sense of whether the infection is getting better or worse. In low virulent organisms, CRP and other markers can be normal. And finally, CRP can be false positive and high in other conditions like RA, CAD, inflammatory bowel disease, etc. CRP and ESR together have better value. If both are negative, we can say that the periprosthetic infection is unlikely with a negative likelihood ratio of 0 to 0.6. If both are positive, then the suspicion of periprosthetic infection is high with a positive likelihood ratio of 4.3 to 12.1. The Musculoskeletal Infection Society guidelines have given a cutoff for ESR and CRP values. If the ESR is above 30 millimeters per hour and CRP is above 10 milligram per liter, it's called positive. Parvizi et al., who is a big researcher on periprosthetic joint infection, in 2013, they actually found that the cutoff values can be different for early and late infections and in total hip and total knee arthroplasty. So as per their study, the cutoffs were different. For TKR in early infection, the cutoff was 54.5, same for THR as well. The CRP values cutoff for TKR and THR for early infection was 23.5. In late infections, the ESR value cutoff was 46.5 for TKR, 48.5 for THR, and CRP values cutoff was 23.5 for TKR and 13.5 for THR. Recently, a new biomarker has been introduced and being used successfully for diagnosing of periprosthetic joint infection. That's called serum interleukin 6. Levels more than 10 picogram per ml have shown to have high sensitivity of 100% and specificity of 95% in diagnosing a periprosthetic joint infection. So this is a new biomarker which is being used to diagnose periprosthetic joint infection. How do radiographs help? Radiographs will help us by showing loosening and osteolysis. Serial conventional radiography is more helpful because they will help us detect early loosening. A rapid development of continuous radiolucent line of greater than 2 millimeters or focal osteolysis. So the radiolucent line is here, more than 2 millimeters, and focal osteolysis. So if this thing is happening within 3 years of implantation, this is highly suggestive of infection. So if these loosenings or osteolysis are happening early, that means it is causing most likely because of infection and not aseptic loosening. But we cannot be very specific in differentiating it from aseptic loosening. They are just indicators of infection. Similarly, if there is evidence of loosening of a component within 5 years of implantation, it is highly likely to be because of infection rather than aseptic loosening. Other features on X-ray are subperiosteal elevation right here and transcortical sinus tract. So if these signs are present on X-rays, they raise the suspicion for infection.